Hey, your sound sounds good to me.
Cool.
Oh yeah. Okay, and I've got the chat window open on another page, so I'm watching for that too. All right, we are live. So welcome everybody. This is another edition of Syndi-Comics Weekly, and we have a new moderator in our group to help us out, known as the Playa, Life with Brock, who teaches us all Brockonomics and how to get the best deals, um, as well as look under shelves and stuff in Toys R Us for all those things that's been hidden out for like 20 years. So, Brock, I kind of want to give it over to you. Please give an introduction of who you are and where you're from and what you do. A lot of people that's on here on my YouTube channel are also subscribers to you as well. So, but yeah, just to the bigger populace, kind of give an intro of yourself.
Muy bien, me llamo Brock y estoy muy nervioso aquí en este canal. No sé nada de los comic books y estoy muy excitado a estar con ustedes.
Muy bien, señora.
So, what's up, guys? I'm happy to be here. So, yeah, I have a YouTube channel. I met all these guys on the Syndicate, and I do like comic books. I've been reading comic books since I was a kid, off and on. I think mainly I was in the early '90s when it was like a sweet time of comic books. All those great artists, great storylines, the bright colors, the big hair, the crazy physiques that just drew me in. And I was an athlete. And that kind of stamped that out for a while. But I was always a nerd at heart. And as soon as my body couldn't be an athlete anymore, then I came back to nerd stuff. And yeah, that's it. So my comic knowledge is pales in comparison to the I'm a little tiny nerd. These guys are massive, humongous nerds. I sit at their feet and I will learn comic book knowledge from them tonight. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Brock, for coming in, dude. We appreciate the help, especially Syndi-Comics has grown significantly. I think over the last 7 or 8 months that we've all worked on the page together. Definitely wanted to get some new people in there to help out. But you say you don't have much comic knowledge. Well, it doesn't take a whole lot of comic knowledge to become a nerd. All it takes is one book. One book is what usually starts it for a lot of us, or one TV show or one toy. So that's kind of how the start of it goes. We'll be here to help you out. You know, we'll explain things as we go through things. But definitely, anytime you have questions, definitely bring it up. Same way with BJ. I've been helping BJ out a lot with all the newer stuff as well as the older stuff. Just to kind of give a background to my comic side of the house, I'm a CGC grader, CBCS grader, as well as a authorized witness for CBCS. And just recently, I don't know how good it is, but I also got my PGX certification back. So we're all here to help out, you know. But I do want to say welcome everybody, Mike Moreta, Original Hunter, and Brock Hunt. Thank you guys for coming in. We appreciate it. Always ask questions throughout. We always say no question will be unanswered as best as we can.
Except, of course, if you ask me, then you'll have many unanswered questions.
I'll keep it 90s and 80s for you because at least you'll know that stuff.
Some of it, yes.
But yeah, that's kind of how we do it. We didn't have a whole lot of topics for this week per se. Typically, what we'll do is we'll have a writer or a artist spotlight, or we'll have a certain topic. Like last week, we were talking about how to help out young readers or people coming into comics for the first time, like where to get started off. Josh Pence is actually one of the guys that asked some questions to us, like, "Hey, how can we help? What do you recommend?" So we started giving recommendations. So last video, we gave a ton of recommendations on books to read. So definitely everybody that didn't have a chance to check it out last week, go check it out because we gave a bunch of stuff to help out with that.
Sounds good.
So first up, BJ, I'm caught up finally on everything. Between Damnation and Infinity Countdown, all the X-Men books. But I tell you, the book that I read that really, was kind of the saddest book I read this week was The Death of Mighty Thor. number 705. So, if you didn't know, Brock, Jane Foster ended up becoming Thor in the comics for like the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Because what happened, of course, is that Thor thought he was unworthy because Nick Fury told him he was unworthy, so he can no longer hold the hammer. So Jane Foster ended up taking the hammer over. Well, at the same time, the real life Jane Foster had cancer. So during this last issue of 705, she finally fought the last time as the Mighty Thor, ended up taking a toll on her body. Then as soon as she went back to just being a human being, she passed away. Really sad book. It was a great run from those guys. And you'll see a theme we've been kind of talking about is the redo of all the universes in both Marvel and DC. You've probably seen Rebirth. You've probably seen New 52 in DC. In Marvel, they've had Legacy. They had the Secret Wars over the last couple of years. Legacy was supposed to be the restart of everything in Marvel this year. And then they decided to just scrap that idea and then start going back to number ones again, starting in April and May. One of those books, of course, being Thor #1, is going to be bringing back Odin's son as the Mighty Thor again, because he thinks himself worthy again to hold the hammer. There's also going to be, there was a new book announced today. Fantastic Four #1 was just announced. The last time we had a book was almost 4 years ago. And that was with the Jonathan Hickman run he did before he killed the Fantastic Four, pretty much. So there's been a tie-in series to that, Marvel 2-in-1, that had the Thing and the Human Torch in it, tied in great to it because they're showing like, hey, how do they find the other two members of the Fantastic Four? That series will not end just because Fantastic Four is coming out. They're going to continue it on, but they haven't said if there's going to be the Thing and the Human Torch. He said, hey, it could be somebody else, sort of like they used to do in the 70s and 80s. Brock, you might have read a couple of those, like Marvel 2-in-1, Marvel Premiere, or Marvel Team Ups. They were the old 70s and 80s books. And I've got a couple of those old ones as well.
If it was before 1983, I was in Cuba and I didn't speak English, so most likely not. I think the first comic book I ever read was, I think it was a Transformer comic book that I actually have on my wall up here, the one with Shockwave in the cover.
Oh, number 4, yeah.
Yeah. So and seriously, I think it's like late 80s, early 90s. But I saw that Fantastic Four. I think you posted it, or I saw somebody post it, and that actually looks pretty good. I got excited for a second because I thought it was going to be the same writer of Infamous Iron Man, and I had it wrong.
No, we were kind of talking about that. That was Brian Michael Bendis who had did that one for Infamous, and that was an amazing series. It was only like 13 or 14 issues. I highly recommend anybody, even if you don't like Iron Man, go get that series because it's Dr. Doom as Iron Man, and it's freaking awesome. And even in today, Dr. Doom still has the Iron Man armor on, so it's kind of cool to see, a different perspective. And by the way, Dr. Doom is a good guy, not a bad guy in this series. So freaking awesome. That came out the same time when Dan Slott was doing the Superior Spider-Man, where, Dr. Octopus became Spider-Man in Spider-Man's body, but he's a good guy. It shows that, there's not always good versus evil. There's a gray area where some of these guys, they might be doing evil, but they think they're doing good, and so given the opportunity, they're going to try to do the good thing. So it was a great spin. I love that book. But definitely recommend that.
Brian, did you end up reading that book?
Which one?
That run, the Infamous Iron Man.
No, I did not.
Okay,
I'll probably buy the trades whenever they go. When I go like to conventions, I'll grab a few here and there when they're a pretty good deal, $5, half off there.
So you're saying that the new guy has read something you haven't. I just feel really good about myself right now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And you should, though, man. That's kind of the catch. And so let's talk about that a little bit. Trade paperbacks, hardcovers versus single issues. in the 90s and 80s, there was no graphic novels and trade paperbacks and hardcovers back then. It was all single issues. That's all you get to read. And it was on a monthly basis. Sometimes twice a month if it was like Spider-Man or something like that occasionally. But most of the time, it's not done that way. It was done monthly, and you had to wait for that next month, for that next issue to get to it. And by the way, comic shops were not huge back then either in the 80s. You had a few here and there, but you were going to your spinner racks at your food store, your drug stores, or if you got lucky, there was your bookstore that might carry some of them. I tell you what I used to do though was go to the library. Library used to get a ton of comic books in. They'd get stacks and stacks of them in, and they'd put their little library label on it, and they would let them go out. And then by the time you get to read it, I mean, it's torn to bits. And you see the little catalog check card. Hey, 8 people have read this book, on a comic book. So it was kind of cool, to do that. But now, fast forward to 2018. I can still go to a library, but guess what they have now? They have trade paperbacks, they have hardcovers, and by the way, they sell some of those too. So go to your local library and see if they have some of them and sell some of those old books.
Yeah, and if you're short on cash and you're practicing Brockonomics, you can always go to Barnes & Noble. They have trade paperbacks for free and nice, comfortable chairs. So you give yourself an hour and a half, you can get through some trade paperbacks. You think? I've done that plenty of times. Play on Saturday mornings when I'm out with my daughters. After we do our toy hunt, we somehow manage to work ourselves over to Toys R Us, and fuakata, I have gotten through some trade paperbacks that way, and it is Freeze R Us.
Hey, Kyle, welcome in, brother.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up?
Hey, Kyle.
So how was the movie?
What's that?
How was the movie?
I personally really disliked it, but that's just me.
Oh, that's not good.
It was 2.5. It was 2.5 hours of pop culture cameos. That's all it was. There is no story at all in that movie.
That don't help nothing.
No, my wife's a huge fan of the book, and I don't think she really cared for it either.
Is that the
After
Player
all
One
the hype
movie?
and everything.
Yeah, the Ready Player One. Yep. Like, don't get me wrong. Like the special effects are amazing. Seeing a lot of the thing, the really deep nerd references that they put in, it's really cool. But for me, if a movie's gonna be 2.5 hours, you have to have somewhat of a good story. And I mean, it's take the least interesting fetch quest ever in a World of Warcraft, MMO, and just make it 2.5 hours long.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's rough, but that's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people will love it.
You think it's because Spielberg has maybe hit his well of opportunity now? That now he's got to the point where it's kind of murky now. There's not enough stories for him to really do as a director or producer.
No, because I had not read the book. Shannon has. From what Shannon told me, the book is very in depth with character development. There's a lot of kind of play in between the characters, and it seemed like they just basically what it seemed like is they were trying to do a cash grab and make a really good looking special, basically the 99% of the movie special effects. So I think that they were just trying to do, this huge summer blockbuster that's nothing but CGI and, every character you can imagine, whether it be from comics, video games, TV, movies, books. I mean, there's references there are 80s toy references in this thing. And I think that's what it was more they were doing flash and nostalgia over telling a good story. And I think that's where they went wrong. But that's, like I said, my opinion.
And just so everybody's aware of what we're talking about Ready Player One. Mm-hmm. If nobody, because a lot of people might not know what movie we're talking about.
Yeah.
We did have a question in the comments down below. So this is a golden debate question. And so this is actually a good time for Brock to be here because I kind of want to explain this.
Oh, good.
So the question is, what's the difference between all the various grading systems? So today you have CGC, CBCS, PGX. There's actually a couple of independent graders out there as well, which I don't highly recommend. They're not nationally known or even internationally accepted. So today you have CGC, which is the oldest one, of course. You have CBCS. And then you have another little company called PGX. Well, PGX and CBCS originally were people that worked at CGC who decided that they knew a little bit more than what CGC did about grading. And it's because they did not like the grading scale that was done at CGC. So they decided and went and made their own companies with PGX, CBCS. CBCS, I highly recommend if you're going to want signatures done, because it almost takes an act of God to get a CGC yellow stamp today. And that's because there's requirements to have a signature series done through CGC. They require that a CGC rep is there in person to see the signature being actually done, and then they will give you a certificate saying that it has been seen by a CGC person. And this is what you really need to do. This is some con advice for you. If you're at a con, go to the CGC booth. There's always a CGC or a CBCS booth, typically at every con, or at least a rep there, and say, you come here. And usually they wear a badge or something like that saying who they are. Grab that person with you when you will get a signature done. Because in that way, they'll fill out the little card, and then you can take it with you when you go mail your books to CGC. That is the easiest way to get the signature series. If not, if you send your book in and there is no authentication and they can't authenticate that signature, then you get a CGC qualified grade. It can be a qualified signature series, which is a purple label. And that sucks. It really does, because you did all this work to go pay and get all the signatures done. And if you know you're going to get it graded before you even get to the con, make sure you scope that part out. Because if you try to do it after the fact, it's not going to happen. Now, CBCS is a little bit different in that perspective. CBCS will actually take a lot of signature books, even without an authorized witness, and they'll go verify it for you. And then they will give you the grade. Not 100% of the time, but I'm saying they are more lenient than CGC is as far as the signature series. Here's your two other things that most people don't realize. CGC looks for restorations 100 times more than CBCS does. They will look at that book top to bottom. They will see if there's any kind of restorations, and then they will ding for every restoration. And just to give you an example, I have a Transformers #1. It is a 9.8 graded. Okay. I also have a 9.4 that is raw. That's what we call ones that's not in a slab. And I can tell that there's restoration done to that book. If I send that book in, which is a 9.4 today, it will get an 8.5 automatically, if not lower, because there has been restoration done to that book. CGC actually offers services to take out those restorations as part of their screening process. It's expensive. And, of course, the higher value of the book, the more that the cost goes up. But here's the double whammy you can do. If you have a book that needs to be restoration removed, they can do that. And then they can go and grade it. And guess what? You're going to get a blue label out of the actual book. That is the best way to do it. CBCS does not actually do that today. They only do grading for signatures, normal books, and silver. And they'll actually do golden age as well. So, and let me elaborate a little bit on that. So, Brock, do you understand the differences between golden, silver, bronze, and modern age?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what particular comics were what part of era, but I know it's an era thing. And but if you want to give me a quick tutorial, I'd take it.
Okay, so golden age, anything before 1956 is considered golden age. 1956 to 1970 is what we consider the silver age. Bronze age is considered from 1970 to 1985. 1985 to 1990/1991 is what's called the copper age. And then from 91 on is considered the modern age. Depending on the company that you work with, some people don't even recognize copper as a real age So they'll say from 1975 till today is a modern age. It's all just depends on who you talk to. Copper's always been one of those weird situations that some people accept it, some people don't. But that's the kind of the errors in the books that you want to look. In Golden Age, like I said, goes anything previous to 1956, so 55 and back. And that goes all the way back to Action Comics #1, back to Detective #1, and even the comics before them that used to be called funnies. Funnies is actually the little comic strips they used to have beforehand. So all those are considered Golden Age. So that's kind of the differences in the ages. So that's when you're thinking of comics. Is this a Bronze Age? Is this a Golden Age? Is this Silver? Because you'll kind of want to know that as you're buying books. Because, of course, Silver and Golden Age costs a lot more as far as buying books. But there are deals to be had in that. So let's use some Brockonomics. Go to a thrift store. Go to an antique mall. Go to an estate sale, a yard sale. You will find tons of Bronze Age, sometimes Silver. I found 2 Golden Age books that way. Those are the best places to get it. It's not your comic shop. It's not an online auction. It's not eBay. It's none of those. It's those little one-off, two-off places. That's how I got X-Men '94. That's how I got Hulk 180 and 182. It was at an estate sale, and I paid $25 each for them. And they all graded out at 8.5 and higher. So highly recommend that you go down that path.
I found Hulk 181 at Ross, guys. You can also go to Ross. But I've actually held some of those comics in my hand. I took a tour of the DC Museum I think it was early last year, and it's pretty phenomenal. I didn't even know that there were comics that existed before, Action Comics, like the funnies that you were talking about,
Yeah.
and they have them all on display there. It's pretty cool.
It's always cool to see that. I've got a couple of those ones that predate Action Comics. And they are in a portfolio and they are locked away for that reason alone, because they're just, I don't even have light onto them because I don't want them to break apart because they're from 1909 and 1910. So these are things I never want to have light on, because if light gets on it, guess what? It's going to probably brittle apart and break away. And I definitely don't want that to happen. But that museum, I know it's when you're talking about. They used to have Action Comics #1 in there, Detective Comics #1 in there. They had Marvel Comics #1 when it was still Atlas Comics at the time, before it was Marvel. Awesome place. I'll tell you, I recommend everybody go to that one.
Yeah, they actually have comics, and I'm going to forget what it's called, but it was the way that they binded the comics before they had perforations on the side, almost like not like a 3-hole punch, but it was what's the other thing called? It's like a plastic thing that goes around it, some plastic binding. So they had all those little perforations, and then they had individual pages from a bunch of the really, really old comics, and I got actually an opportunity to hold them in my hand, which was pretty neat. I held thousands of dollars in my hand, and it was just one page.
Yep. And you actually would be surprised if some of those expensive ones go. I meant literally when Herb Trimp did Hulk 181, one of the first page that showed Wolverine in it is over $30,000. Just that one page, And it's freaking awesome. We had talked about this, I think a couple of weeks ago when Kyle was kind of giving an overview on art. Those are way expensive, and you're not going to find those anywhere unless you find that artist or you find that person. But Golden Age, Silver Age, they ain't alive anymore. Those people are few and far in between now. And as soon as they pass away, guess what? Those prices jump up in price, way high. I mean, some of my Herb Trimp stuff is worth a pretty fortune now, since he's passed away. Especially like my Hulk 180 and 182. They jumped about 200% within the first 2 days he passed away.
So, what comics do you guys have in your collection, and who do you need to die to maximize your profits?
Let's see.
All of them.
I've got a lot of old stuff. I'm not telling you what I got.
This is going to be like real sacrilegious, but I'll say it. I need Stan Lee to die.
Well, he's almost there, player. I mean, he's lived a full life, and we all love the man, but it's about to happen.
Unfortunately, it is. Yeah, no, I have Amazing Spider-Man 200 signed by him. That's something I'll never sell, but that is probably, with his signature on it, I would say with someone dying, that would probably be the one I have that's worth the most.
Who's then with Spider-Man?
What about you, BJ?
I guess I'm gonna go Stanley too, because I've only got one comic that's been graded. If not, maybe Claremont.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Not too sure. Yeah. I mean, I want
Jim Steranko to pass away.
That one.
Is it signed by him, or is it just the book?
No, it's just the book.
Okay.
But I mean, I got it for like $17, so
that's a really cool cover. That's a really cool cover. Really
yeah.
Like
it's the first appearance of Adam Warlock or him.
Yeah.
So
well, and then with him being in the next Guardians movie, that's going to go up even more.
Yeah, I bought that like 4 years ago, waiting for this to happen.
Nice.
So, everybody that's in the chat, let me recommend something right now. Infinity Gauntlet. If you have those Infinity Gauntlet issues, you better keep a hold of them. They're about to skyrocket this year. They've already started going up way already high. Like I remember buying those for $1.25 when they first came out. Got the whole set of them. They're $30, $40 books, each one of those now in value. So those old 90s books, they're finally starting to get value. Because the problem we had in the 90s was an oversaturation of the market, which almost tanked the comics, period, in 95 and 96. Because oh yeah, Superman, dude, so many Superman books. Oh God, no. So if you didn't know, Brock, what happened was in 1995, 1996, the market was so oversaturated with comics that comic shops had overbought, and then they couldn't sell them. So a lot of them went bankrupt, which is why today you don't see as many comic shops as there used to be. Because in the mid 90s, it was booming, and that was thanks to Jim Lee and Chris Claremont and everybody. The Image movement that happened, that was huge, but they oversaturated. I mean, you can buy a Spawn #1 for $5 still today. $5, $10, something like that. I mean, you guys saw the post that we had on the page the other day. The dude had like 30. Yeah.
Well, I remember when that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kyle.
Oh no, I was about to say, yeah. I think a 9.8 Spawn graded will only run you about $20. So I mean, you're not even paying for the grading fee.
Yep.
They were more expensive a few years ago. Before I got into even collecting Marvel Legends and what I collect now. I still have some of my old comics, and I remember when that comic book came out and all the Image comics came out, I bought like 5 different Spawn #1. Actually, the first few issues, I bought a few of them thinking, hey, Todd McFarlane, maybe when I'm 40 something, it's going to be worth something. So I actually sold a few of them a while back, and I think and they were not graded. I think I sold them for $15-20.
Okay.
Yeah, that was before they started the reprints. So reprints kill the original print. So these True Believers #1s and then all these second and third prints will kill the value on a first print.
Yep. But then not only that, but I mean, I think that was most like a lot of people's mentality back in the 90s, especially with Death of Superman when that came out, is people didn't really care about the story. They were seeing what Amazing Fantasy 15 and all these other books were going for insane prices. And they're like, oh, hey, we're gonna fund our kids' college on Spawn #1. We're gonna fund our kids' college on Death of Superman still in the polybag. Not realizing that DC and Marvel and even Image were wise on this and were way overprinting these things.
Well, and that was the problem too. It was just like we all bought it. I mean, we were all the suckers that bought it in the 90s. I mean, how many of us had 4 or 5 copies of Death of Superman, The Return of Superman, all the Image books, and stuff. I had tons and tons. I mean, I probably had anywhere from 100 to 200 between all those kinds of books, because I thought, hey, they're going to be worth a lot of money at the time, not realizing the market was about to crash, on it, and they were worth about $1 each. But that's kind of what we all did. We thought it was an investment thing. And so I will say this, and I will personally say this to anybody and everybody out here: comics are not in an investment scheme. They are something to read and to look at. The art and the story writing is awesome, but you are not sending nobody to college. You're not sending nobody to retirement with comic books, unless you have ASM #1, Amazing Fantasy #15, Action Comics #1. Those key component issues that built the comic industry. Sorry, it ain't gonna happen. Even X-Men #1 from 1963, you can still get that for $600, $700, and it can still be in a 5.5 or a 6.0. So you're not gonna get rich off of comics. I tell you who gets rich off the comics: Diamond. Diamond makes lots of money off of comic books. And now they're making tons of money off of toys and collectibles now. So that's who that was the monopoly that was built into the system. And that was really why, after the market almost crashed, Diamond took over. Perfect time too for Diamond to take over. They're like, we need to distribute books to comic shops to do an actual real sell of the books, not an oversaturation of it, so we all don't lose business. Because if you remember, when's the last time you seen a Wizard magazine?
Last time when I was 15, I think that's the last time I saw it.
Bingo. And guess what year that was? 1996.
I was gonna say 98. Dang it.
So that was the reason why Wizard World went under, because of the comic industry. They've recuperated and they're come back now. They've had Wizard World and a couple of things lately, but they are still not the same company they were in the early and mid 90s. So yeah. But we did have a question in here. Mike Morita says, has the first appearance of Deadpool hit its peak price wise? I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say yes.
Opposing views. Let's go. Throw down, fellas. Start throwing hands. Go, 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 go.
Now that's Liefeld died.
So this is the reason why I think New Mutants 98 has hit its peak. Once Deadpool, the first movie, came out, you saw that the creeping value of that book went up and up and up. It has now sat for the same amount of time since the movie came out of theater. So we are at that peak point. It might go up a little bit when Deadpool 2 goes out, but I don't think we're going to see it jump from when I bought it last year, before the movie came out, for $20 to the $200, $300 range it's in now. I don't think we're going to see that kind of jump again. I think we're going to see it maybe $20, $30 go up. I just don't think it's going to jump like the way it did before.
So maybe it's time to sell.
Yeah, I think it will. I think there'll be another hike. I don't think it'll be a permanent hike, but I think during Deadpool 2 is the time to sell, because once again you're going to get the hype of. Because I mean, let's be honest. Anything Marvel can put Deadpool on, they're going to make merchandise for it. And this movie's going to be. I think it's just going to blow records away, just with how popular Deadpool is. But yeah, no, I think you're going to see at least another $100 jump once Deadpool comes to out. I don't think it'll sustain it, but I think it. Yeah, if you have it, this is the time to sell it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Especially if you have it graded. I mean, So let's talk a little bit about grading versus raw. Raw books definitely, of course, have the potential to get damaged and whatnot and everything. A graded book doesn't mean that it can't get damaged in there, but you're most likely not to damage it again while it's encapsulated. The value doubles of a book typically if it's a higher grade. Now we're talking 8.5 or above. Your 7.0, your 7.5s and below will not be doubled in value. If you look at the GPA or you look at comicspriceguide.com, if you look at the cost of these books, they are almost double from a raw to a slab copy. So definitely take advantage and slab it, unless you have multiple copies like I do. You take and slab one, you have a raw one, and then you might have another reader one, which I have 4 New Mutants 98 for that reason. But that's the catch-22 is that, it's one of those things. Slabs are always worth a lot more money. That's why they cost a lot more in cons or even at your comic shop. They're always going to be expensive. The question that somebody brought up to me yesterday is with all the MCU movies out there and how comic values have pretty much risen across the board, not just for Marvel, but for DC. Image, not so much. Certain Image books have went up in value based upon the writers or artists. But do we think it's going to crash at one point? Do we think it's going to die? It will. And I'll tell you when. It's when they stop making the movies. When they stop making the MCU movies and the DC movies, you're going to see the comics start going back down in price again as far as value, because there will be no more hype for it. Now, how long will this train last? Who knows? They've been talking about Phase 4 and Phase 5 for the MCU universe. DC's already came out with what they're to 2030 or 2025 or something like that as far as scheduled movies. But there is going to be a point where there's going to be an oversaturation of movies in the actual pipeline. People won't want to watch them. We'll all want to watch them because we're nerds. We love it. We'll go watch anything that's comic related. But that is the catch: is that if Warner Brothers and say Fox and Marvel Studios and everybody gets to the point, they're like, okay, we've told our story. We are done. We could see that happen. We could see the market start going back down to the way it was pre-Iron Man, the first movie.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a while though, because these movies have become mainstream. These characters are mainstream. This is not just for the nerds. And you know what actually wisened me up to that? When I first broke into YouTube, I was out at a Starbucks and I think I saw a K-Earth 101. K-Earth 101 is a popular music station here in our area, and there was these two girls there. So I went up to them and I was doing the YouTube thing. I got in their face. I asked them if they wanted to be questioned. I asked them about people collecting and all this, and then just being nerds. And they said a nerd is not a pejorative term anymore. Being a nerd is just that you're into something different. It's not bad to be a nerd anymore. And I think people are seeing these movies as mainstream, and they have very high entertainment value. You don't really need to know about Thor. You don't really need to know about Deadpool or any of these other characters to be entertained by these movies. So I think it's going to be quite a while before the hype which those movies do bring to the genre, and I think we're going to be getting continuing. It's going to continue going up and up and up. I don't see it in a downward spiral anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you, Brock. I mean, using Ready Player One as an example, they just made a 2.5 hour long movie that is nothing but cameos from these exact things, and I think that's what really kind of shows me. Yeah, this isn't something that, back in, I'd say, the late 80s, early 90s, you had your Michael Keaton Batman movies, but outside of that, I mean, you had your Spider-Man cartoons, your X-Men cartoons, you had those really cheesy Captain America movies that I love with the clear field. But, you had those things that unless you were going to like a Blockbuster video and renting them off the shelf, they were like directed TV things. Now you have, they're setting box office records. I mean, to use my mother-in-law as an example, like within the last, 3 months, all of a sudden she's watching all the Marvel movies and she's wanting to borrow all of them. Someone that knows absolutely nothing about the comic world, but like to Brock's point, she enjoys that they are, they're enjoyable stories, good acting, very well-made movies that entertain. And, and she's never going to go out and read a comic. Like if I offered, like, hey, you want to read, what this, if I want to, give her a bunch of Spider-Man books, be like, hey, you want to read what this is based on? She's not going to take me up on that. But if I, hand her a new Blu-ray and she can, waste 2 hours of her time and watch a well-done movie, she'll do that in a heartbeat. And I agree with Brock. I don't think I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I mean, you look at conventions. I mean, just the amount of people that are going to these conventions, and a lot of it's not for comics. I mean, a lot of it is to meet these actors, to meet, you know, the screenwriters, those type of things. I mean, a lot of people just don't go for comics anymore. And I think, I think that is so ingrained in our culture right now that it's going to be decades before any of that starts to slow down.
And I agree. I mean, the biggest thing is that the hard part's going to be is it's going to be on the actors and actresses. That's the actual people today. And there's you're going to see the rotation go up. It's going to happen. I mean, we've already seen Chris Evans already talk about, you know, hey, I don't want to do Captain America anymore. You know, he's ready to go. He's ready to do something different now because they don't want to be stereotyped for their whole film careers. You know, they want to do other things. I mean, people forget that he was Johnny Storm in the crappy Fantastic Four movies, you know, but we won't talk about those. But that is kind of the catch-22 is that there will be a burnout period for the actors and actresses, I think, before us, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to have to see how they're going to change and reinvent things. For example, like we all know what's going to happen. Either Sam Wilson or Bucky is going to be the new Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Sebastian Shaw or Mackie is going to be the new Captain America. It's going to happen. Is it going to happen in Infinity War, this movie or the next movie? Who knows? But we do know that's how you keep these people fresh. You keep these actors entertained to keep staying with the series. Robert Downey Jr., he's going to probably do it until he's 60. I mean, he's one of the highest paid people in the world, you know, as far as movies go.
He's dying in
Yeah.
Infinity War.
Yeah, I hope so.
Really?
I
You think
do.
so? You think Iron Man's going down?
I do. I think he's done. I think he will die in part 1. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Well, they're going to have to bring some sort of iron thing back. Do you think they're going to do Ironheart?
I do. I hope they do because I think that is absolutely brilliant. The way they set up.
Were you talking about me bringing up Ironheart or the series?
No, Ironheart. But no, I think the way they introduce Siri, I think that's the only. I would be shocked if Marvel is not preparing her to be Ironheart.
Yeah, I mean everything that they showed in Black Panther with her, she's got to be Ironheart. There's nobody else in the MCU today who should be Ironheart. I mean, just the technology awareness she has, what she can do. I mean, she's already leaps and bounds above Tony Stark will ever be. You know, so they've got to make her Ironheart. But somebody actually did ask a question earlier tonight. What about the X-Men in the MCU? So I have my own theory. I like to hear everybody else's theory on how they're going to interweave them into there. And it all has to do with Scarlet Witch, actually. So if you remember in the House of M series, where Scarlet Witch goes crazy, she makes a new universe. But by doing that new universe, she also made an actual rift in the time-space continuum. And so she ended up bringing actual characters all the way into the House of M era, and then they got brought back out. So that's a perfect avenue to bring the X-Men back into the MCU. She has one of these House of M events kind of thing where she goes nuts, and then she finds the X-Men in this alternate universe, and then they all get brought back into the main MCU. So what do you guys think?
Let's go, Brian. I want to hear what you think. You've been quiet, and it can't be because I'm here. Let's go. I want to hear you.
Yeah, my internet just went out when you just went through that whole spiel. That's awesome. Good timing, Team Bubble. Thanks. One thing I hope they don't do when they bring the X-Men into the MCU is bring their storyline into the X-Men comic books, because you see how they're doing it with the Avengers, with Black Panther, with all these other ones. Please don't do that, for goodness sakes, because you're going to draw away some more comic readers as well. I'm going to agree with Nate on what he said. Yeah, because I told him it. I don't know. Maybe an Avengers versus X-Men movie. Everybody's like really excited for that. So who knows?
Kyle, your turn. I'm waiting for the chat to give me my opinion because I have no idea yet. Kyle, you go. Let's go, chat. Help me.
All right. First up, this is my personal opinion. I don't think the X-Men belong in the MCU. This has been my stance forever, because the thing that I've always loved about the X-Men is it was a kind of play on civil rights. And you have basically the general population scared of these mutants. And my feeling on the MCU was very open from the get-go to beings with a lot of different superpowers, whether it be, Steve Rogers with the super soldier serum, you have the Hulk, and it just it doesn't have that same feel of kind of fear and anxiety over these characters. Now, I think Scarlet Witch there's a little bit there that they played up in like Civil War and things like that, but I feel like I think as a kind of action standpoint, it'd be really cool to have the characters all together. But I've always kind of wanted them separate, just because that makes, to me, the X-Men's kind of how do I want to say this? Like kind of what they stand for, so much more meaningful. Just in my personal opinion about it. But I do think they will bring them over, and I personally think it's going to be something to do with Infinity War. I think it's going to be some sort of cosmic explosion with the Infinity Stones, much like we saw in Avengers Standoff, that little kind of comic event they did, where they had that, what was her name?
Kubrick, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's going to be some entity or some sort of item that is generated in Infinity War that is going to not only bring the X-Men in, but basically wipe the entire MCU universe clean, and they're going to start completely over. And I think that's probably where you're going to see Ironheart come in as Iron Man. You'll probably see Captain or Bucky come in as Cap. That's how I think they're going to do it. I think it's going to be some sort of cosmic event dealing with Thanos and the Infinity Stones, and they'll just rewrite everything.
I completely disagree.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
What's
teasing.
your thoughts,
I needed something to say. So how about Bishop and Wolverine? They're both coming out. They're both coming out on the Marvel Legend wave soon, and Bishop is a time traveler. And the old Wolverine, we need a new Wolverine, and Bishop and the new Wolverine will be coming into the MCU.
Well, there's only one problem with that, though, Brock.
Oh, what's that?
Is that Bishop hasn't even showed up in the X-Men movies yet. But Cable has. Cable will be in a Deadpool movie. There could actually be a tie there, too. Is that Cable could be the one that comes from an alternate future, the alternate MCU future, and he already sees the issues that happened. Or even better, to piggy off of Kyle, what if that destruction breaks down the Ultimate Universe, which is what X-Men's really based off of? I mean, there's been a lot of storylines changed around, but if you look at both the MCU and the X-Men series, they both have that Ultimate Universe tied and feel to them, just based upon the storylines they've done. I will say it was nice to see Civil War done the way it was done. It was just shouldn't have been done in one movie. I'm sorry. I mean, that should have lasted a little bit longer than 20 minutes in the end of, Captain America Civil War. I mean, that was a huge epic storyline in Marvel, that should have lasted a little bit longer. But what they have set themselves up for, though, is with this Captain Marvel movie, is Civil War 2. With now we have Captain Marvel who can fight against Iron Man. So that could be a possibility of a movie. Don't know how far it's going to go. But I think what ultimately happened, though, is going to be, it's either going to be Scarlet Witch or Cable. And I think Cable actually has the best avenue to do it because he's already in Fox. He's already in the Deadpool movies, which means he's already part of the X-Men universe, which means all he has to do is tie in somehow to the MCU, and there you go. But there is one problem, and the only problem I see, though, is why the hell did Cable not show up for Apocalypse, the movie? The one guy he hates more than anybody in the world, he does not show up for.
Who made that movie again?
Fox, of course.
That may be your answer right there.
I mean, but I can guarantee you. We were talking about earlier today.
This is called the let's step all over each other. Go.
Right.
Next. No, I was going to say is that we were talking about Fantastic Four #1 coming out today, so we know there's going to be another movie come out soon. Because that way Fox doesn't lose its rights against the Fantastic Four. So who's going to be the Thing this time?
We need a short, stout actor that's popular right now.
Danny DeVito.
Vince Diesel.
Oh God. I would say Tom Hardy would be a good one, but he's doing Venom now. And Tom Hardy was supposed to do freaking Wolverine a long time ago to be the replacement for him, but that's all shot to crap now.
But I mean, you have Brolin playing Thanos and Cable, so I mean, you could do two.
Yeah, but at least he's in two different universes, so it kind of makes sense.
Right. My vote's for Danny DeVito.
Oh shoot, that's the same actor that's playing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew he looked familiar, darn it. Maybe there'll be a chance for a head swap for that purple-headed Build-A-Figure.
There you go.
Hey, purple-head possibility.
Yeah, I think the best part's going to be is there's going to be so many memes made out of Thanos that hasn't been made yet with a Cable head.
Oh, I'm going to do it as soon as I get a chance. I can't believe that. I thought it was two different actors, and I didn't pay attention to the name. Somebody in the chat, Mike Moreta is saying Dwayne The Rock would play. He's probably talking about Thing. I don't know if he's got the voice for the Thing though.
I think if anybody should do the Thing, we need to go back at least 20 years. I actually agree. Danny DeVito would actually do the Thing justice as a voice, not as the actual size person, but as the voice of things. He would be awesome. I mean, if you just think about a miniature thing about Ace Ball, that would be awesome in a penguin suit, But as the voice of the Thing, I think he would do awesome.
He's got like a New York accent. Where's he originally from? The character. Let's go, nerds. Help me out here.
He actually is. He's from Gotham originally. Because his whole family, the Oswalds, the Cobblepots, actually were best friends.
No, I mean Ben Grimm.
Oh, Ben Grimm, he's from New York.
Yeah.
Okay, so New York.
Pretty much I think it's about every one of those characters is from New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so is Dr. Doom. Most people forget he's actually, being Mr. Fantastic's best friend / enemy. In college, they were all from New York.
Oh, this is actually a cool idea. Slim Tim says Vincent D'Onofrio, the guy that played the Kingpin on the Daredevil series on Netflix.
Oh,
that'd be good.
I can see that. But the problem I have every time I watch, I love the Daredevil series from Netflix. Private Pile showing up
Gomer
as the
Pyle. Gomer Pyle.
I just get over. Huey Irby yelling at somebody in the movie. Have a cameo of him, be like the Jarvis or something like that. Huey Irby say, "Get over that fence now."
He must, I think, would be too big though. I mean, he's a huge dude. Like I'm 6'4", and I met him. What was that? I forget what con it was, but I just walking by him, like he towered over me. Like he is a huge man.
Yeah, but with the CGI, do you think that would make that big of a difference? Because it's mostly going to be the face and the voice. I would think they would have to CGI the Thing, don't you think?
Right. Yeah. I don't think it'd be much practical physical effects now.
How big is the Thing? How tall is he? Let me look this up as you guys are answering.
I think in the
while
comics,
you're looking it up.
Okay. I don't know.
He was
shorter. Like 5'11", 5'10", but maybe I could be way off.
6 foot. You were right on.
Yep.
6 foot, 500 pounds. It's kind of a little guy.
Well, little is remember little, different sizes in movies, so it don't matter who plays what.
Yeah, right. That's true. And I have a thing with scale. I mean, I enjoy things. I like for example, with figures, I like the 1/12 scale the best. But some of these figures, I've seen them drawn. You know, I've seen the thing. Let me speak of Thanos because I recently worked on a custom. I've been working on custom Thanos, so I did one that was like a larger version. I've seen them. I've seen, and I don't know. You guys would probably know what comic Thanos. It's probably like an Infinity War comic where he's wiped out everybody and he's palming the Hulk's head, and the Hulk is passed out. So you can't palm the Hulk's head if you're not humongous. You're going to be bigger than 6'9" to be able to do that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, they showed him in Guardians of the Galaxy comics. I mean, that dude just towers everybody, like 7'1", 7'2". He's a bit, I mean, like, he's built, too, so he's not like just a tall, slim guy. He's a big guy. I would think anywhere from 350 to 400 pounds easily, you know. And in the Thanos comics, if you see him recently, he towers over everybody in that, you know, so it's just nuts.
Right. I think when I researched it, it was supposed to be 6'9", 900 pounds, which is humongous, obviously, but he looks bigger than that. At least the images that I have of Thanos. Maybe the images. I have to go back and read the Infinity, the comic you were mentioning earlier, the one where it's his face is on the cover, and then you have all the jewels. I have to open up the pages and see what he actually looked like in there. But I remember him being humongous.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't do justice. I mean, we got this guy, and then I pull up this.
Right.
That's, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, that's a pretty good scale as far as people. You know, she's like 5'4", but he should be like up here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as height wise.
Agreed.
Okay, so Original Hunter says Tony Cruz for Bishop. Dude, I'm all over that. Tony Cruz is Bishop? Hell yeah.
Which one's that? Who's that?
Tony Cruz? You don't know who Tony Cruz is?
I mean, I probably do, but I don't know names. I barely know your name, Nate. You know, I'm an old man.
Oh, God. Okay, so you need to go watch the Deadpool 2 trailer now, Brock, and you're going to see there's a clip of him in it.
Okay. That's Terry Crews.
Terry Crews, not Tony Crews. Terry Crews. Yeah. So how I think should be Bishop too. I think he'd actually play a phenomenal Bishop.
Oh, Terry Crews. Terry Crews?
Terry Crews, not Tony. My bad.
So Terry Crews, the guy from he's on a comedy right now. Yeah, he'd be great. He'd be great. Oh yeah, because he's humongous.
The Old Spice guy.
The Old Spice guy. Oh, he'd be good. Don't you think though that they'd want to bring in younger people though? I mean, he looks great. I would love to see him in the movie because I love his personality. And I'm trying to remember the show. I watch it with my wife. It's a cop show, and it's
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's phenomenal. He's so funny, man. And he'd be like I can picture him. He could be the bald Bishop. All you need is the mutant M on his eyeball, and he's good to go.
Yeah.
Well, but remember, Bishop only has a certain amount of role in the comics, as well as he did in the animated cartoon. So we only need him for a little bit. He could be like a catalyst that causes an issue, then he's gone. You know, Cable, not so much. Cable's going to be around for a while, I think, in the comics and in the movies. I think once he hits Deadpool 2, we're going to see him for a while, and I can see him tying into New Mutants. So if everybody doesn't know, New Mutants got delayed till 2019 now, which sucks because I was hoping to watch it this year. But they said there's one new character being added to it. Who's going to be in Deadpool 2? Cable going to show up in New Mutants to tie it all together. But it's interesting because the New Mutants is based upon the Demon Bear, which is way earlier than Cable showed up into the series. Cable didn't show up until 87, and we're talking like, I think, issue 18, 19, 20 of New Mutants. Yeah. So this was the early New Mutants, but we all know how Fox is, and they're going to capitalize on anything. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Cable show up or if they put Deadpool in it.
Or Warlock too, because he came right after that storyline came out. He made his first appearance in there.
Yeah, because of the whole tech anarchy. I remember when that came out, he showed up because the dad was called what, Magus, I think, was his dad or something like that. Kicks him off his world, says go away. So he shows up at Earth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that got delayed. So that's not good. But also they got delayed this week too. Was X-Men Phoenix for massive reshoots. So that never turned out well. But I will say this: if Fox is going back to reshoot the movie, parts and production of it, to make it better, that's a step in the right direction for Fox, though, because they've put out a lot of these movies lately that they just, you can tell, like the last Fantastic Four movie was the worst movie I think they've put out so far. But it was, at least if they're taking time now to go back and fix things and learn from their mistakes and do it right, then it'll work out. Like X-Men Apocalypse, I loved a lot of the ideas behind it. It was just executed very poorly. It almost felt like watching X-Men The Last Stand all over again because they tried to cram too much in one movie. They didn't. I mean, I understood they had to bring the Phoenix in. I understood they had to do that part, but that never happened in the comics. You know, the Phoenix was in space. You know, yes, Jean had the latent ability to do some of the Phoenix things, but they full up bringed out Jean as the whole Phoenix. You know, in the end of Apocalypse to destroy him. You know, and it's like, well, if you could do that, then why didn't we do that 2.5 hours earlier?
Right.
All right. So, we didn't have any topics really for the night, but hey, this is so Brock, this is typically how it goes for us.
I have something for you guys. So who's reading it? Since you brought up Cable, who's reading that comic book right now?
I am. I know I am.
So you're currently reading it right now? You're caught up to it? What do you think of the art?
I like the artwork. It's just a little lax. It's like they're cutting corners on a lot of it. I could tell that in this last issue I read. It's like they get in a rush. You can tell it's digital versus hand drawn too, real easily. You know, because it's just like there's soft corners. They don't have like, the facial and stuff. Yeah, it's just I'm not a big fan of that. You know, I wish they'd go back to the guy who did the first 6 issues of Cable when it got restarted.
Yeah, I've never been like a humongous Cable fan, but going back, it definitely has left an impression. I know people talk trash on Liefeld's art, but look how many iconic characters that guy's penciled. And for some reason, like, you know, when I get an action figure, and I know this is not an action figure talk, but it's a comic talk. But when I get an action figure, I want them souped up to the gills. I want guns. I want muscles. I want the works. And who gave us that? He gave us that. You look back at even some characters like ninja type characters, like or sumo samurai type characters like Shatterstar. They always had. They had pockets. They had, you know, flowing humongous swords. I think Shatterstar even had a gun. I mean, so I enjoyed his art more than I cared to admit, to be honest, because some of it is weird, like the feet and the proportions and all that stuff. But there's something that goes to say that his characters are so iconic years later that I don't know. But I wanted to read Cable so bad because I was working on the customs and I needed like inspiration because I was getting kind of like bored of it because I've been working so many hours on it. And the story was kind of cool because there were some other types of kinds of powered up individuals that I'd never heard before.
That was the Externals, I think was the name. It's Gideon and his crew of people with Selene and them. They were all introduced actually by Liefeld in the early 90s when X-Force, the comics, first started off.
Yeah, I remember having that comic book, and I remember Gideon, and I remember his little, you know, ponytail, bald head and ponytail, and but I didn't know he was an external. I didn't know what is an external.
So an external is a demigod, pretty much, in the Marvel universe. They have the same powers as them, but the catch-22 is all the externals in Marvel are connected. They're all actually family members in somewhat shape or form. They're all tied together. So if one, that's why they're all immortal too. They can't die unless they get killed by another external. Which is when you're reading Cable, that's kind of the whole idea was like there's one person killing everybody else off, and it's Gideon. Gideon wants, and what happens is when an external dies, that other external picks up that same power that that person has. So there's ultimately wanting to be one to manage and rule all of them. But the problem being is that if you kill them off and you have all this power, but then you get put into a cocoon and you're stuck in there for 3,000 years, like Gideon was, what does that do for you, really?
Yeah, he doesn't have street credit during that time.
No. No.
So are the other two guys, Kyle and Chris, are you guys going to be picking up the? Are you reading that comic book at all, or did we just? Oh, sorry, Brian and Chris and Kyle.
No, I am not reading that one currently.
Nor am I.
But are you guys going to planning on doing that? How do you guys choose what to read and what not to read? Because there's so much stuff out there.
I'm not a huge X-Men guy, so I normally don't. I kind of stay away from those characters a little bit. Really, the only things that I read superhero-wise are Spider-Man and Batman. Then I'll read anything and everything from Image. So it's just a lot of, I don't know, like I spend a lot of days on Previews World looking up kind of synopsis of different books and just try a lot of different things.
Got it. How about you, Brian?
Grew up on the X-Men, so I'm gonna keep doing that. Kitty Pryde's my favorite character out of any comic book. And then with the help of my friend Chad does writing for comic books, started getting into more writers wise, so I started venturing out into more of the Image side, and especially with Kyle throwing Rick Remender's name in my face constantly, I started reading his stuff too. So just listening to these other guys and finding more artists as well while like reading the books too. So that's pretty cool.
And Nathan, how do you have this like photographic knowledge of all this stuff? So you must be you must be reading just about every single comic book out in existence. Do you have a photographic memory too?
It's pretty decent actually. I actually got tested for mine, and yes, I do have a somewhat.
I believe it.
Because and you're going to see it here in a little bit, how many books I get a week, and I've read every one of them already this week. I am a speed reader as well, so I can read through things and retain information pretty fast. But yeah, for me, I mean, X-Men was always the first. That was the first book I picked up when I was a kid, so I've always been an X-Men guy. So I picked up Uncanny, regular X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, all that stuff in the 90s. I picked up all that kind of stuff. So when they did the redo this year back in Legacy to X-Men Blue and X-Men Gold and then X-Men Red, it kind of brought me back to that same 90s era, so all these books have been amazing to read. New Mutants, definitely go read New Mutants. That's a freaking awesome book. If you like any of the old 80s and 90s, this is right up your alley. I mean, because it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I read it. I enjoyed the first like the little snippet into the storyline. It's very intriguing. What I've had trouble because I love the X-Men. Obviously, Jim Lee was the one that was penciling. I think he may have been writing it too. I can't remember for sure. You guys would probably know, but that's what when I was into comic books, Jim Lee was the penciler of the X-Men. And I loved it, and I've tried to get into the X-Men, X-Men Blue, X-Men Gold. I think I may have read one of the issues of X-Men Red. No puedo, no me gusta. It was I could not do it. I could not do it. I could not do it, guys. It did not pique my interest. And for like even comparing it, I know that comparing books is not that close to do. Like for example, I'm thinking of a DC book. The first one I think about is Dexter Soy and his Red Hood and the Outlaws. That that's my thing right there. I just love it. And I can't remember who's writing it, but I dig the storyline with Bizarro. Bizarro is like a smart guy now. He's playing like the smart Hulk character, and it's funny. It's exciting. The art is just like popping off the pages, and it keeps my attention. I can't wait for the next one. I'm looking forward to the next one. I read the X-Men one, and it was like, I'm just reading this because I want to like the X-Men. I don't know. What do you? Obviously, I know for you, Nate, that's not the experience you're having because you're reading all of them and you're enjoying it. So what am I missing? What is it that I'm missing in my reading there that I'm not getting? What am I not getting?
So what you're missing is the crappy era of X-Men we had to deal with Grant Morrison. When there was those eras, like you were talking the Jim Lee, Chris Claremont era of Uncanny X-Men when it first came out, X Factor, Will Portacio was doing Uncanny, Larry Hama was doing Wolverine. That was I'm going to say the golden age of X-Men at the time. You know, that was an amazing time frame to read. But once we got to like the mid 90s, after really, I think it was Onslaught, the X-Men universe Onslaught thing, we got into like Operation Zero Tolerance. We got into crossovers and stories that started getting really dumb. And so over time, and I like Grant Morrison, just not on X-Men. You know, I hated the stories that were done during that time frame. I hated the outfits because that wasn't the outfits I grew up with, you know. So for me, I did not like that saga and that series time frame. And I actually stopped reading X-Men for almost 10 years. During that point, I was only doing DC at that point. So when they said they were bringing back X-Men Blue and X-Men Gold to kind of reminisce back to those Uncanny and X-Men days, I kind of had that nostalgic feel to it because it was the same people. It still wasn't my Wolverine because of Old Man Logan, of course, so, but X-23 being the all-new Wolverine was awesome in my book because I love that whole concept and character development of Laura into that. She comes from being a clone of Wolverine to being a killer to being an X-Man, so I like that kind of development they did with her. But yeah, like X-Men Red, I like it, and it's because it's got Jean Grey in it, because I love the character Jean Grey. That is a huge thing for me. I loved it when she was the Phoenix and the Dark Phoenix. But when they blew it up and changed it like the White Phoenix and they had the whole Avengers versus X-Men thing, and then they had the White Phoenix show up and it split into like 5 different X-Men, I was like, really? Give me a damn break. It's Jean Grey. Jean Grey is the Phoenix. Nobody else. Rachel, I'll give it. Rachel Summers can be the Phoenix too, because she's the daughter of Jean Grey. I'll give a pass on that one. But when they started going to all those multiple stories and crossovers and things like that, I was like, I'm done. I'm out. But we came back to a simplistic kind of storyline, which was kind of nice from my perspective.
Okay. And Brian, that you're an X-Men fan. What do you think? Are you reading those comics right now?
Yeah, I've been reading X-Men consistently for about the past 8 years. I had a break in between when I was in high school myself as well. That's before high school. It was Uncanny X-Men and X-Men, like Jim Lee and Silvestri and all those guys hanging out. I really liked Uncanny X-Force. That one kind of drew me back into the X-Men wise as well. I didn't know it was Remembered back then, but now I know. Thanks, Kyle. But even the artist wise, it was really good too. Then another one I was really excited to have to see was the Extraordinary X-Men coming out because Humberto Ramos is one of my favorite artists.
I love that guy.
Yeah, because I had the Wolverine Civil War issues about 12 years ago when that came out, and I just thought his drawing of Wolverine was incredible. So,
well, he's penciling. If I'm not wrong, he's penciling Champions right now, and
yes.
that's pretty much like a little kiddie book. The storyline's very juvenile in nature, but I can't put that one down because the art is just I'm drawn in by the art. I'm like Mongo. Mongo loves art, You know what I mean? But still, that's good to hear that they're gonna throw somebody at an X-Men that it's high caliber. That's what I want to know. X-Men's like, and I'm wondering if there's something to do with the rights of X-Men and all that stuff behind the scenes that maybe they don't want to give the best artist to X-Men for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe that's something you guys would know, Kyle, Nate. But why aren't they throwing their big guns at the most iconic Marvel other than Spider-Man? It's X-Men. You know what I mean?
So I can explain it in 2 words: Marvel movies.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
And okay, so elaborate.
So today, if you look at Avengers, you look at a lot of the books that are tied to the MCU movies today. That is where you're going to get the artists, you're going to get the writers, you're going to get that. You look at Amazing Spider-Man today. It's got Dan Slott. I like Dan Slott. Don't get me wrong. Did an amazing story, especially with Superior Spider-Man and everything.
That was awesome.
There were some great stories there. But everything is really tied to Iron Man. You're going to see Avengers. You're going to see Captain America. They just did a whole freaking Secret Empire, crossover just about Captain America. And it's all because of the MCU movies. The movies is what sells right now. And that's what they're trying to do in the comics. They're trying to bring everybody into those comics to buy those books instead of giving it to the other actual people. Everybody forgets X-Men outsold Avengers for almost 20 years. In the 80s through the 90s, all the way up to the beginning of 2000, X-Men was the book that sold out everything.
I didn't read Avengers, and during those times, I didn't have that much money. I was a kid, and my parents weren't going to keep feeding me money to buy comic books, so I was spending my money on X-Men and Image, and then eventually when those guys, and then it was just Image, Cyberverse, Spawn, etc. But man. So I get that. So that makes sense. The fact that they're wanting to maximize their profits. But the Captain America storyline, I read that. It was like
I am with you 100% on that. That's why after Secret Empire, I stopped reading Captain America because it got stupid. I mean, it was like, and I like the idea, the concept of a Hydra-based Captain America, and evil Captain America takes over. But I was just like, holy crap. But you are missing one person that does amazing work. And that's Charles Soule.
Yes.
So Charles Soule is on X-Men. And this dude is amazing. And get ready because he's about to get real busy, real fast. With everything going on with the Wolverine story that's coming out soon. The hunt for Wolverine. So Charles Soule killed Wolverine, and now he's bringing him back. So get ready. That's going to be an amazing story.
He's doing what are the books he's doing now? He's doing Daredevil.
He's doing Poe Dameron, the Star Wars spinoff.
And then X-Men Gold.
Yeah, and then Curse Words, obviously, for Image.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm into his Daredevil for sure. I like the storyline he's got going on there. But maybe I'll read one more Gold to see if I can. It was hard, guys. I couldn't do it.
So what I would recommend to do is just go buy the trade paperback of Gold, the first 2 volumes. That way you can just read through it.
No, Nate. Go to Barnes and Noble. Go to Barnes and Noble.
You're gonna get kicked out eventually, brother. It's gonna happen.
I buy a coffee. I go to their little Starbucks in there, and I take one of my children. They're not going to kick a guy out with his kid. Come on, man.
Actually, here, I don't know if you guys know this. Have you guys ever used a app called Hoopla?
Hoopla. Look that up.
Never heard of it.
Is Hoopla equal free?
Yes, it does. So so it's actually really cool. So what this app does, and I've actually kind of wanted to share this on this before because I've seen a lot of people asking the best way to read comics. So what it actually does is it ties into your library account. So if you go to any public library, you'll get your card and everything like that. You log into Hoopla, you'll create an account, and all you have to do is put in your library account number. And what it does is it allows you anywhere. It depends on the library. It's funny, the library in Westchester by my office, it only allows 10 titles, but the one down the street allows, I think, 15. but you can download 10 to 15 titles a month. And these are all trades, and they have everything you can imagine from Marvel, DC, and Image. Dark Horse, they're a little bit hit and miss on, but anything I've ever wanted from Image is on there. And it's really kind of cool because they have the deluxe hardcover editions too, even though it's all digital, which include like 2 or 3 volumes. So you'll get 2 or 3 trade paperbacks, and it only counts as 1 rental. So that's a huge resource. Like if you're wanting to check some things out, I do that a lot on Image books. If it's something I really don't know if it's something I'm going to be into, but that's a fantastic resource. It's 100% free, and like I said, you get anywhere from 10 to 15 books a month. You can download on your iPad, whatever device you have, and it works amazingly.
So that's if the library that you have the card to has that license, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But I mean, all the ones in our area, at least here in Cincinnati, every one of them has some sort of license with them.
Hey, Cal, can you put that on our page?
Yes, I can.
Because then it might be able to help out. Because we have a lot of people that come to the stream, but there's a lot of people that just go look at our page. So they could help some of those guys out too. Because I'm going to go do it. But I would say it's hard for me to read a digital book.
Yeah, it's actually cool. They just got the rights to Marvel probably in the last 6 months. So originally it was just DC, Vertigo, and Image, and they've slowly been trickling in. And the cool thing is they get them the day they release. So now this is trades, not single volumes, single issues. So, but the day the trade releases, it's already on there, which is really, really cool.
Hey guys,
that's definitely going to help out because I got a lot of Neil Adams I need to catch up on.
Yep.
We have an uprising in the chat right now. Brad Campbell said, "I've been collecting Spider-Man consistently since 1992, and I hated Superior Spider-Man. I'm glad Slott is leaving."
Yeah. Brad and I had this argument already. I like Brad's a great guy. I respect his opinion, but he's wrong.
Hey, Brad's in the chat like this. Ooh, I'm gonna get it. Hey man, I love that storyline. The Superior Spider-Man. It was just it was super cleverly written, and how Peter interacted with Doc, and in his mind, and how the fighting was happening in the mind, and then you got Superior, the Spider-Man, Doc Ock. He's actually like what you guys were saying earlier. Now I'm yelling here. I'm sorry, honey. I just got excited. But, you have him being the good guy, but he's got his, he's like a heavy-handed good guy, almost like a Punisher, And I love that storyline. Brad, you need to reconsider. Reconsider, Brad.
100% agree. That moment that he kills Overkill. Sorry, spoilers. I said
it about a few years ago.
But yeah, if you haven't read it by now, come on. But yeah, no, that moment that he kills Overkill, I thought that was brilliant. You see Spider-Man, this character that's always been this extreme kind of goody two-shoes. I mean, just murdering someone in cold blood. I mean, it was unbelievably awesome.
And like for me, I personally liked it because it was different.
Yep.
So that was kind of the catch-22 is like some of my favorite ASM issues are not even Bronze Age or Silver Age books. For that reason, because it was about the storyline. It wasn't about the art as much as it was the storyline, because Stan Lee and Kirby and those guys were writing the story. So in the 90s, when Todd McFarlane came out, in the late 80s, when McFarlane was doing his run and Mark Bagley took over, we saw a big change in the way it was written and the way the storylines went. Don't get me wrong, I like Bagley's run, but it wasn't the same. It didn't have that same, like, Cuzba, to the storyline to me it's like, I'm going to go back and read McFarlane's run again because I liked it a lot better. Everybody's got their own personal opinion on it. Slott's a good example of that. Yep. A lot of people hate him. A lot of people love him. A lot of people don't give a damn.
McFarlane got what was people were criticizing for the way he was penciling the web, how the spaghetti webs.
A lot of people criticize how big he drew the eyes too, because it went from the small eye scale to the big eye scale with ASM, and a lot of people didn't like it. And there's a lot of readers that stopped reading because of that, because of the artwork. I didn't. I kept reading it, and I got Venom out of it, so I was happy about that part.
Oh yeah.
But it's just one of those catch-22s about it.
Did he do Carnage too, or was that's somebody else?
No, that was McFarlane did the initial run with Carnage, and when he did the Maximum Carnage run, then Bagley took over.
Yeah.
Bagley had a lot of the work done on that one after the fact, but the idea came from McFarlane originally.
Brad Campbell says, I mean, it was basically Freaky Friday, a body swap storyline, guys. Really?
Hey,
It's kind of funny though, because that story has been in the motion for years before Superior Spider-Man ever even happened. Remember Man Spider? The dude who had the 8 arms, that was the same thing. It was a body swap. It was a clone, done of him. So think about it. Spider-Man and a spider body. Same thing.
The joke's on you, Brad. Freaky Friday is my favorite Lindsay Lohan movie. So.
Okay, we got to let you go, Kyle. You just ruined it. I need your man card.
Oh, he lost his man card.
All right.
You need to go back and watch.
I'm signing up for Hoopla right now, guys. It's really easy.
It really is.
All right, so I do want to give a big shout to Brad Campbell, though. Brad Campbell and Steve Hamilton were the 2 guys who give us submissions for the new Syndi-Comics logo. And we did a contest, and Brad's won. So his new logo is now on our page. So thank you, Brad, for all the help and support with that. We deeply appreciate it. Definitely more stuff to come. I've got a couple of ideas I need to float by the admins and mods. One, I actually need Cincy to be here, or at least say something in the chat about, because I want to change some of the rules. So more to come, but I'll let you guys know in our chat. So getting on to the fun stuff, let's see what everybody got this week. And Kyle's gonna be super pissed off today about this one.
The whole time here, I just want to figure out what in the world you have that's gonna piss me off.
I got 3 or 4 that might.
I swear, if it's anything for Commander Sign, I'm done. Brock can have my spot permanently.
This may be the only Thursday I can do this.
So
that's the reason you guys brought Brock on, is just to replace me, because I'm going to quit after this.
So, and one thing too, Brock, if you don't buy comics, but if you buy figures and stuff, we show that off too. So if you got something you want to show off that you bought this week, or like some of your custom stuff that you work on, if you want to show that off, definitely.
Okay,
go for
it. I got a cable figure in the mail. The Marvel Select cable. I'm going to cannibalize him and make another one. I may actually be selling one of my customs. People have been wanting to buy them, and I'm like, but hey, Brockonomics, you know what I mean, players?
Money in, then go buy something else with.
Yep. That's all I got in the mail, Marvel Select cable. You guys already seen that.
All right. Well, we lost Kyle because he had to go find something. So BJ, what'd you find? What'd you get this week?
I got a pretty good stack of comics this week. Besides the trades I picked up, but I already showed those on the page, so I'm not going to go through those. X-Men Blue, number 24. Storyline.
Cool cover.
Nope. Oh yeah. I actually picked up that Labyrinth Coronation number 2. I like the beginning of the story, so I might as well finish it off.
BJ, is that like just an adaptation of the movie, or is that something completely different?
It's kind of like a prequel. Talks about where the Goblin King came from and whatnot. So far, it was pretty cool.
Nice.
I got the naked variant of Saga number 50. Yay! This is my favorite book, so by the way, there, Brock, going right now. Doomsday Clock #4.
Oh, that finally came out.
Yep.
Yeah. I was wondering about that too. There's your Cyber Force #1.
Oh.
Sylvester
Yep.
cover.
Did
Yep.
is that the only cover he did?
There's only
believe
2 covers
so.
for that one.
I can't remember if there's a variant or not.
The guy with a gun looks like Daredevil. Or maybe I just didn't see it long enough.
It's the main character, but he doesn't have all 3 arms on it right now. But that's
Yeah.
that's the his the metal or whatnot going on
Yeah,
there.
the metal on his arms, and that's his daughter in the middle.
Wait a second.
Yep.
So it's the same characters. Oh, is that Ripclaw?
Yep.
I think so.
Oh man,
Looks like it.
I may have to read that.
So, little background behind that book, by the way, it is in a different universe than the original one, so it's a little different in the storyline. So this is pretty much a restart for Cyberforce. So if you never read the ones in the early '90s, that's just fine because you can just jump into this one.
Yeah. All right, I got a couple more. Good old Kiss and Army of Darkness #2.
Where's the tongue? There she is.
Okay. This is the 3rd variant. So, side story, Brock. My buddy Chad Bowers is a co-writer for this one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and here's the other variants that are going on there. There.
We need a Venomized Kiss comic.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
they did.
Can you imagine Gene's tongue venomized?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As
Oh,
that
that'd be awesome.
the cover artists do the inside too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, they
They
do.
look pretty good.
Yeah, they look really good. The art's really good on that one. The behind story of it's kind of like what if Kiss entered the Army of Darkness movie. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Transformers versus Visionaries #4.
Tell me to pay
I
more than
like the art
5
on
cents
this
for that
one.
book.
Yeah, and then they did a little homage to Old Cup there.
Oh. And that's why I can't read that
Yeah.
book because they killed Cup.
And not just that, it was the whole IDW said we're not bringing them back anymore. So,
Right.
and then some dude was like trying to buy me his book, so I was like, all right, but you got to sign it. So
Yes.
yeah, that's coming to you, buddy. And it says, Kyle, your buddy BJ is pretty cool. So I'm just kidding.
Does it actually say that?
But if you want to bring me, if you want to send me your copy, I'll send this so I can read it. I don't want to mess up your really nice
Cool.
autograph there. They're really cool guys too. So
Yeah, that's one of my favorite books. I love it.
yeah. And then just a couple more Blu-rays. I picked up the New Frontier Blu-ray. I needed to get the it's a steel book, but I needed to get the digital copies because I share my Voodoo account with my sister, and so my niece and nephews can watch the movies and whatnot, and then just Thor because it was on sale. Yeah, I need a digital copy for that too. That's it.
Very nice.
All right, Cal, what'd you get?
Only thing book wise I got, I picked this up. I went to Gym City Comic Con Saturday, and James Maddox was there. I had him sign my Spread Volume 3. But he had his book, The Dead. So I picked this up from him at his booth. Haven't started it yet. Hopefully we'll get through this weekend. But excited to read that. I did get this in the mail yesterday. I got my badge to C2E2.
Damn, so everybody's got theirs pretty much.
What's that?
So everybody's got theirs in. Foxy got his instead of Josh.
I know. Since he get his in, I know he texted me last night saying he hadn't got his yet.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him today if he got his or not.
I know Toy Bill's the other guy going up. He texted me today too, saying he still has not gotten his. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with him, but I did get mine yesterday, so I'm at least going.
What are you guys going to do with Sal Essos? Is he the only one that's not from Ohio that's going to be up there?
Cody's coming up, but
he's part of the Ohio crew.
He pretty much.
Yeah, he is.
I think Sal's flying into Cincy, and then he's staying with Cincy Wednesday night, and then we're all driving up Thursday, like in the late morning, early afternoon. So I think he's flying into Cincy, and then he's driving up with us.
Yeah, I talked to Sal yesterday. He's super excited, dude. Like he couldn't stop talking about it. He's so excited to go.
I think this is
I can't wait
time
to
out of
see you guys.
California.
Yeah, this is the first time he's actually left this whole state. So this is his first adventure ever, you know.
Well, he went up to San Jose. He took a bus, and now he's going to be flying. So planes, trains, and automobiles.
Well, so everybody remember his age too, though. Sal is a really young kid. You know,
that was a funny thing. We were when we went up to the Columbus toy show. Josh, Billy, and Cincy. We were all in the car, and we were all kind of talking about like what we wanted to do, during the nights. And then like we were all sitting there, and all of a sudden, Cincy just looks at us. He's like, "You realize Sal's under 21, right?" And we're like, "Nope."
Like 19.
Everything 19. We were talking about doing was bars and breweries and all this stuff, and it's like, probably not gonna be able to do a lot of that then.
Not with Sal, unless you get him a fake ID. Right. Or he could probably get himself a fake ID. Right. Not a good idea, Sal. I am not condoning you doing that, Sal, even though I did it when I was your age, but don't do it.
And then the last things I got were I gotta shove this in. Well, not shove. I gotta show BJ this. I did get the Star-Lord hot toy.
All right. I'll see you later.
Guardians one. And then the other one I picked up was the Rocket and from Guardians one. So one of our local toy stores had them, and I too good of a deal. I couldn't pass them up.
Hey Kyle, I don't understand the jab at Brian. What was that? He actually walked off a screen. What was that all about?
Yeah, these are the hot toys he actually, out of all the hot toys they make, the Guardians ones were the ones that he really wanted, and I was able to find them at a killer of a deal.
Oh really? Okay. Just be quiet for Brian. You have some hot toys, don't you? You got some hot toys?
Not yet. I got Yondu coming in July. So.
Oh, I saw some dolls behind you. I thought that was
Mezco.
Oh, Mezco. That's right. That's the miniature one.
Yeah. And then Black Series.
That's the cheap man version of Hot Toys.
That's the Brockonomics version.
All right.
Still not that cheap.
Oh, they're like $80, man. They're expensive.
Oh, I got mine cheap.
Oh, you did?
I got mine on raffle.
Oh, that's good. How much? What was that? Like a $5 raffle?
I got Deadpool for 10, and then my buddy won the Wolverine one, so I paid 50 for that one.
Nice.
And then I got Reverse Flash like 65, I think.
Which is the best one that you have in that Mezco? Sorry, Kyle. I just.
Oh no, you're good.
Okay, you were done, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, I thought it was.
Oh. I like the Reverse Flash one. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks good.
Flash was one of my favorites when I was growing up, so it's the first one. It's, I guess, with just the one cloth, it's more able to articulate too, because with the leather on Wolverine and on Deadpool, it's kind of hard. You don't want to mess up the stuff too. But this one's getting fun. I like that one too.
Oh, that's the Bandai.
Yeah, the Realization series.
Not Deadpool. What's his name?
Yeah,
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul.
Oh yeah, this is another raffle one too. Yeah.
Good for you.
The only bad thing is they don't have holes for it. Oh, but you're saying Essos is staying with Cincy Nerd at his house?
I think so. I think that's the way it was. I honestly, everything with Sal has been kind of planned, like between
So,
them. So I have no idea. I know he's going up. I know he's flying into Cincy and he's flying out of Cincy. But I know he's driving up with us. But other than that, I have no idea what's going on.
so he's thinking he's gonna sleep in the nerd cave. He's not gonna be able to sleep in that room. He's gonna be like just like looking around everywhere.
He's gonna get the taste for hot toys when he's at Cincy's house. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he's gonna be posing. He's gonna do that Marvel Legends shelf. It's gonna be a hot toy shelf.
Dude,
well, I know he's already been eyeing 2 hot toys, so it won't be long.
A year and a half ago, I said I wanted one. 28 later.
Oh my gosh, 28 times 250. Oh my gosh, that's so much money.
That doesn't play a
Did I say that out loud? Did I say that out loud?
Yeah, no, I understand. Believe me, my wife lets me know a lot.
Where are you, Kyle? Where are you at? Is this a basement that you have?
Yeah, this is my basement.
How big? How square footage wise how large is your basement? Is it bigger than 1,400 square feet?
I have no idea.
It looks like it's bigger than my house. That's why I'm asking.
I have no idea. I don't know. It's a good size.
So the other day, I think actually, was it on my? I had Sal. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before on Collector Spotlight, and since he got hopped in there, and I mentioned something about Ohio because I have family in Findlay, and apparently I say that a lot. I have family in Findlay because they've tried to convince us to move out there. It's not going to happen for maybe a decade, but since he's like, yeah, don't move out here. Because of the cold. How cold is it? Is it brutally cold?
Okay. I grew up playing ice hockey since I was like 3 years old. So I love the cold. So I'm not the one to ask. But I mean, like, I don't know, like today it wasn't bad, but like last weekend it was in the, I don't know, like 20, like in the low 20s.
Yeah. It's like 75 here in California.
Yeah.
It's miserable.
Oh yeah.
Miserably hot.
We'll get down to single digits during, January.
Yeah, we were like at 90 in January. It was pretty hot over there.
Yeah, Brock, you're gonna freeze. You moved to Ohio. Your whole family will freeze to death.
Hey, but I like the cold. I prefer cold than the heat. It's miserable over here and getting into triple-digit numbers. Brian, where are you at?
Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, so it's cold there too, I take it.
It was 87 degrees today.
Okay, so it's not cold. I was wrong.
2 days ago, it was 30 degrees ago, though. So it's like haywire down here.
Yeah, it sounds like California.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you got to remember too, BJ's got all the humidity down there too as well. I mean, you're talking 100% humidity down there, and it'd be 100 degrees. You're just dying. Why do you think I moved back to California from Georgia?
Okay, so it's muggy over there. So Ohio is better than South Carolina then?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I liked Ohio better, but I've also got family in Ohio. So
is it in Findlay? Because I got family in Findlay.
No, my family's in Cincinnati.
All right, so I derailed us. Nate, what did you get?
All right.
Sorry.
So Brock,
I forget that I'm the guest. I forgot for a second there. I thought I was a Collector Spotlight. So let me hold on. Let me stop my roll and let me step back and relax.
It's all good. See, for me, it's a little different. It's kind of like a free for all, and during this thing, we kind of let everybody speak whatever they want to speak. I don't care. I mean, it's my channel, but I don't care. But this is for all of us, So just to let you know, Brock, my store almost closed here. My local comic shop, Hypno, almost closed. Almost last month because they had a deal where it was supposed to be somebody was supposed to buy them out because they were moving to Nevada, to Vegas for family reasons. And then that deal fell out. Well, literally 2 days before they almost had to give up the building, somebody came back in and bought the store out. And it's part of the bigger Hypno enterprise system. So I didn't get books for almost 2 months. And so I'm watching these guys get books, and I'm sitting there just doing this number, waiting on my new stuff to get in. So I started getting all my stuff in. So this is going to take a little bit. So sit back.
All right.
So first
Kyle, how you
up,
doing over there?
I'm anxious.
so these are from Midtown because I had to get all my books, from Unknown and Midtown to backfill. Venom 163.
Nice.
All New Wolverine 32. Weapon X 15. X-Men Red number 2. I love the covers they do on these.
It looks good.
X-Men Gold 23.
Can you throw out the cover artists too, the ones that you really like? Because I like that Nightcrawler one. It looked good.
Yeah, I usually have a pick of the week. I usually do.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so let's see. This one is almost made my pick of the week. But this is X-Men Blue number 23. Astonishing X-Men. This is also done by Charles Soule as well. So
I always pronounce his name Charles Soule for some reason. So it's Charles Soule.
So yes.
Soule. New Mutants number 1.
That's my pick right there.
Damnation number 2. Anything this guy has been freaking awesome. I love how Donny Cates and Nick Smith have been doing these ones.
Bless you.
Thank you.
But yeah,
Gesundheit.
Damnate, I love this one.
Oh, wow.
7. Infinity Countdown number 1. This is my pick out of this set, the Alex Granoff cover from Infinity Countdown number 1, the variant. I love how Granoff does his artistry. It's almost like the Alex Ross feel.
Yeah.
That's what I like about this.
It looks very much like an Alex Ross, kind of like oil painting style.
It does. Like him and like Stanley Lau, the art gym. Those are like my 3 favorite artists as far as covers. Marvel 2-in-1. So if you're gonna get Fantastic Four, you need to pick up these ones to catch up with it. This is a tie-in. Marvel 2-in-1, The Thing, and Human Torch. They're calling these two the Fantastic 2 right now. And then Moon Knight. This, if you want to read a crazy batshit crazy dude, you read Moon Knight.
Yep.
He wasn't he a military guy? The backstory on Moon Knight, military guy, and then he worked for the CIA and.
So Moon Knight, what happened is he was a military guy, went to Egypt, found a talisman in a pyramid for the god Nushu, who is the son of Ra, the god Ra. And then what happens is Mark Spector goes crazy from it, and he ends up having 4 personalities from it. So definitely you get to read what's in his head in the book, which is an awesome concept.
I got to tell you, Nate, I am super impressed. But can you, next time I ask you a question before you answer it, can you do this? Can you do this? And then, it's pretty darn amazing, man. I'm really impressed with your knowledge. But I know nothing, so won't take
you're doing good, man.
Compliment.
So that was one pile. Ugh. And this is what I picked up from Hypno. So this is what happens after a month and a half.
How much that stack cost you? That's gonna be over $50. No, more than $50, I would say.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. 75.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Just a little bit. But my favorite part though is they give me 20% off everything. So I'm using Brockonomics.
Oh yeah, there we go. I like that one.
Yeah, Weapon H. That is a freaking awesome.
Did you get the variant cover?
They haven't got the variants in yet. I'm gonna get it as soon as it comes in.
It looks pretty good. Did you guys see it already?
Yeah.
I think I was
Yeah, they've
talking
got
about the homage to I forget which one. You guys will know. What's the cover with Wolverine's reflection or Hulk's reflection?
That's well, they did one for 181, and then they did one for one of the old Wolverine books.
Yeah.
They should have waited until Wolverine fights Weapon H.
That's going to happen probably in the Hunt for Wolverine.
See, I need to see that cover. I want that variant. I want that variant cover with the reflection, but it's got to be on Weapon H's claws. I need it.
So X-Men Gold 24. Go get this book, guys. This is a key issue now.
Mighty Thor.
The Mighty Thor 705, The Death of Jane Foster.
Mm-hmm.
So this book will go up real fast. Moon Knight 193, some more crazy. And then we talked about this last week, how to help out readers. These little dollar true believers are good. And I pick up anything Venom, of course, so picked up all of them.
Nice.
Hey, Nate, can you click on your box? Because when we're making noise, it's clicking off of you. So we can see the... If you click it and it makes like a white box around your picture, then it just stays focused on you the whole time.
Yeah, that's what I have it on right now. Venom, Carnage.
Cool.
I want the first issue, the real one of this one, though. This is Rick Remender's run on Venom. That's what I want to get, that saga from Toxin. The homage to ASM 300, of course.
Yeah.
So
they've done a bunch of those covers, haven't they?
Yeah.
They did like 8 of them, I think. 8 of those True Believer books.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably my favorite one of the week, though. This cover right here. Ghost Rider combined with Doctor Strange. I love that cover.
Well, they're making a play on Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider's all over the place. He's in Thanos also.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But it's not Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider, though.
Yeah. I love that book, Scarlet Spider. I'm really enjoying that one. Cool.
Metals number 6, which of course ends it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
And this one actually took me a little bit to find. The Jim Lee variant for number 6.
Did they charge you more for that?
Huh?
Did they charge you more for that?
Just retail. The original.
Like that cover.
And then the variant.
Nice.
I love Demon, and he's hardly ever in comics, so I was happy to see that one. This is probably one of my favorite series right now, though. The Terrifics. It's a spinoff of Metals. And then, of course, what's a redneck without a redneck? That's not it. So if you guys saw this last weekend, I actually got some deals on some books. Got some old ones at an antique store. And they wanted $4. I gave them $1.50 for it. But this is the cool one that I did find too. We were talking about Marvel 2-in-1, but this is the actual Marvel 2-in-1 #1, the original, the Thing and the Man Thing. Got it for free. I bought a couple of Walking Dead figs, and they gave it to me for free.
Sweet.
And we're talking about this is an $80 book for free.
An $80 book? That cost
It's an $80
$80?
book. Yeah, this is a 9.2 to a 9.4. It was just sitting in a thing, in a pile. I said, I want that book. How much you want? He said, free. Okay. That took me no time. All right. Now time to make Kyle mad.
All right. I'm ready.
I'm just getting started.
I love it when you guys nerd out. I seriously do.
Finally.
Oh. All right, but okay, you gotta remember, I'm the novice here, so you gotta explain to me why Kyle is having a. I could describe it, but it's a family show.
So this is the first Frank Miller Daredevil.
Yep.
Okay.
So I've been looking. I love Frank Miller, especially on his Daredevil run.
Yeah.
I've been collecting that series to get it together, and this is the one I've been trying to get forever. And Cal, you want to know how much I paid for it?
No.
I do. How much you pay for it?
$7.50.
Gosh.
Okay, so what does it go for?
About $118.
Okay, I like it. That's good.
So I wanted to kind of bring it up. So if you guys see me posting like on Syndi-Comics, those auction things I'll post like randomly throughout the week. That's where I get a lot of this stuff from. These old books. All right.
Well then.
Now
They're not signed by Miller or Jansen, right?
No.
Okay. All right.
Worse.
Worse.
God.
Oh my
dog it.
No. I specifically said I was gonna quit.
No entiendo.
Come on.
I got it back.
So who all signed
Yeah,
it?
buddy. This one's just signed by Rick Remender.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's why.
Right here.
All right, Kyle, you ready to go? Let's get out of here.
No, I
Don't leave, guys, because nobody will be wowed if I'm the only one here. I'll be like,
Man.
Oh, that's awesome, but I hate you.
How old is Rick? How old is Rick?
Mid-40s, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So we shouldn't be wishing anything on him then.
No.
No.
So for price wise on those, $4.50 on the raw one.
Okay.
And $21.95 on the signed one.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring that up, Dead to Class is still a new book. People don't realize it came out in 2014. It's not a huge book yet. That slab is worth maybe $80 or $90. It's not worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But it is a writer that I love. I love Rick Remender. BJ had brought up earlier about Uncanny X-Force. He was actually the one who brought me back into X-Men comics. Was Rick Remender. And so when I read that one, and I read the Blood of Apocalypse in the Uncanny X-Men series, that brought me back into it. So I went back and read pretty much everything from Rick Remender that's been out because I love his writing style. So yeah, what do you think, Kyle?
I'm happy for you, but I kind of hate you at the same time. Nah, I was actually last year I went to C2E2. Rick actually canceled like a week before the show. I was super disappointed. Yeah, he's one that I have to, and he's not doing any shows this year at all. He said, which sucks, but hopefully here eventually I'll actually get to. That's 2 weeks in a row. What are you gonna next week? Just have I don't know who else. See. Well, actually, it's funny. So, like, I was about to say we got Charles Soule next week, but I actually get to meet him at C2E2. But I found this interesting. He's not actually, like, C2E2 has had Charles, like, posted all over their website since, like, the first week they put people up. He's not actually there in Artist Alley. He's only there for Friday to do one signing from, like, 2 to 4, and it's not even for comics. It's for his new novel that he has just released.
What is that?
So, but it's cool because I've already set up and I've already paid for original page from Ryan Brown. I contacted Charles and I was like, hey, I just bought this page. Like, I love curse words. Is there any possible way that I could get you to meet me somewhere with Ryan and take a picture with me and sign my trades of curse words? And he responded saying, he was like, he's like, I'll hang out at Ryan's booth for the first hour on Friday. He's like, come find me there. And I was like, that's really cool. So I will get to meet him and have him sign everything. I met him last year, but yeah, I'll be able to get a picture with him and get up my stuff signed, even though he's not technically there for that, which I thought was really cool of him.
All right. Well, Kyle, tell us why him? Why Rick? Why do you like him so much?
It was it started with Deadly Class. Like Deadly Class was one of the first books when I started getting back into comics. I jumped back into the stuff that I knew: Batman, Spider-Man, Daredevil. But I never really gave. I mean, like I read Spawn as a kid. I read Cyberforce. I read Wildstorm. I read like all the superhero things, but I never really gave true independent comics a chance. And it wasn't until I picked up Deadly Class on a recommendation from a podcast I listened to that were raving about it. And it's basically kind of Harry Potter, but instead of a school for wizards, it's a school for assassins. And it was one of those books that had like all like the teenage drama, but it ties in a lot of like music elements, a lot of punk rock, a lot of heavy metal themes. And it was like the first book that I honestly like kind of felt like it connected with me growing up in the 80s. The whole book is set in the 80s. So, I identified with the culture. I identified with kind of a lot of themes that he was talking about, and being like in the punk hardcore scene growing up as a kid, like I dealt with some of the issues that were going on in the book. And it was just kind of one of those things that I was like, hey, this is like, I don't know. It was his writing and the way that he is able to pace things and make me care about characters. It was something that even as a kid, like I've always enjoyed Batman, but I didn't connect with Batman. Whereas this, I'm actually connecting with characters, and it kind of blossomed a whole new love for comics, and got me to where I'm reading mainly Image indie titles over superhero stuff now. And so I just hold his writing in such a high regard because of that.
Well, it's the same for me. I like Charles Soule, Rick Remender, Donnie Cates. A lot of these are new guys that have a different writing style, different artistry. Those are kind of what I like seeing now. That's why I love reading their books, in Marvel and Image and whatnot, because they have an interesting story. It's actually captivating to read it. Like you don't want that issue to end. We used to have books like that in the '90s with Chris Claremont, Larry Hama, Mark Silvestri, those kind of guys. We had like when you got done with that comic, you're like, crap, when's the next one come out? Because I really want to read it. That's how I feel with a lot of like Remenders, Sewells, and Donnie Cates. Like I can't wait to read that next issue that's coming out for them. But Remender, I mean, like I said, he brought me in for X-Force. I loved Wolverine, but then after I saw how they were changing everything when Civil War kicked into Marvel, that's when I bowed out of Marvel. I just didn't like how they were doing with the stories anymore. Needless to say, I kind of screwed up because I left before Jason Aaron showed up, for to save Wolverine. And I was really kicking myself after the fact for that, because I had to go do the backtrack and go read all the Jason Aaron stuff, learn, oh crap, they brought Wolverine Origins out, the other stories. But it's kind of those catch-22s. It's just like you have to pick and choose what you like too. You can't read everything. I mean, I read a lot of books, don't get me wrong, but it's the storylines I like to read. There's a ton of independents out there that I'll read digitally as well on top of these. So, we were talking about Black Science, we're talking about, those different ones that Remender and those guys did. Donnie Cates is a good example. I have all of his stuff digitally, except for like curse words and stuff like that, because I like to read their storylines.
Brian, anything to add to that? Are you a fan?
Oh yeah, Brian K. Vaughan. He's the one that one that got me back into independent 3 years ago. Found Saga #1, and then I started following more and more writers. Mark Millar with Jupiter's Circle, Jupiter's Legacy. I read Superman Red Sun because of that, and then just recently, 6 months ago, we started doing this. Was Remender, and then started spreading words, about the other books. I'm looking for the other ones too, and with the writer spotlights that we do too, so we started getting into those, and then realizing I actually have some of these writers that I've had for 10, 12 years. I didn't even know about it. I'm like, well damn, awesome.
So, what would you guys recommend as far as someone like me that I'm obviously not at the same comic book level as you guys are? And by what I mean is like you guys are, obviously you're knowledgeable of, you're knowledgeable of the artist, the penciler. I mean, the artist, the writers, probably the inkers, the letterers. You guys are probably familiar with all those guys. You're familiar with storylines. If you're somebody you'll know numbers of Silver Age. You guys are so like knowledgeable. So somebody less than you, like me, who would you recommend as far as uh, writing? Top 5 Marvel writers, current writers right now. Mention them and what books are they writing that you would recommend to someone. And I probably have read some of these people already. I've read a ton. I've read a bazillion comic books, but I just don't have the same love that you guys have. But I'm into. I love art and I love a storyline, but I prefer the art is what draws me first.
Right.
I'm very superficial that way. Where you guys, especially you enjoy the indie. It's not necessarily the art that's going to get you. It's going to be the storyline, the plot, etc. So, top 5 Marvel guys, top 5 DC guys, and Nate, if you're good with this, and we can talk about this. Will probably take a while to get everybody's opinion and what they're writing right now, and what should we be reading? Or is that too big of a question?
With DC, I don't know that much DC, but I mean Murphy for Batman White Knight.
Well, I'm going to be writing this stuff down, guys. Carry on. I'm finding a piece of paper right now.
All right, and over on the Marvel wise, Soul with what he's doing, X-Men Gold, and anything Jason Aaron touches, you can start off with his early Star Wars. Yeah, he does. He's doing he did the Mighty Thor, right? With the Jane Foster.
Yeah, Jason Aaron. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he started the Star Wars one as well, which was really good. Good storyline too. The only one off the top of my head I can think of on Marvel and DC.
All right. And Kyle, since you're not a big superhero guy, but that's what I like to read. If maybe you can keep your choices. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to influence your choices, but if you can throw me a couple in there with a superhero related, would be cool.
Yeah, I think probably DC wise, Tom King.
Oh yeah, he's good. I love him.
Is writing. I am personally not a huge fan of his take on Batman. I think he has some really good ideas, but there's no denying that he's a phenomenal writer. And
Kyle, can I cut you on that? Is he the one that wrote? What was that book? They did it. It was digitally. It was the video game. Was he the guy that did Injustice? The initial run of Injustice?
I don't think so. Because he did, but because he was doing Vision at Marvel before he signed an exclusive contract with DC.
Okay.
Because he did Omega Men, and then he did Vision, and then he had a creative thing with Vertigo called The Sheriff of Babylon, which even if you're not even if you like superhero stuff, if you have any interest in like a political kind of thriller, Sheriff of Babylon is one of the best comics I've read in the last 20 years.
Sheriff of Babylon.
Yep. Tell you, so Tom King, if you're looking for art, DC side, once again, Clay Mann is phenomenal. He's definitely an up-and-comer. He's actually working with Tom King on Batman. He is also working on, I believe, Action Comics and Trinity.
Oh, he's okay.
Yeah, so Clay Mann is phenomenal. Sean Gordon Murphy? Sean Murphy Gordon?
Sean Murphy. Yeah.
Murphy Gordon.
Yeah. He's doing Batman White Knight right now, and that book is unbelievably good. I'm trying to think who else. The Marvel side, I definitely agree with BJ. Jason Aaron, anything he touches is usually gold. If you're into Star Wars, his Star Wars run was phenomenal, and as well as his The Mighty Thor was really good as well. Dennis Hopeless is another one of my favorites. He did Spider Woman, and I thought that was really good. We've already talked about Dan Slott. He's Donny Cates is another great one. Right now he's doing Thanos and he's doing Doctor Strange.
Which one's better, in your opinion? Which run of his Thanos or his Doctor Strange?
I haven't read the Thanos yet,
Okay.
so I've only read a bit of the Doctor Strange. I really like the Doctor Strange. It's kind of Doctor Strange was never a big kind of favorite of mine. I didn't mind the character, but his run so far has kind of really brought me to enjoy Doctor Strange.
Okay.
And then, what was it? Art-wise from Marvel, Ryan Stegman. He was one of the artists with Humberto on Superior Spider-Man. And then him and Donny Cates are both doing Venom.
Oh yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
in May, I think. So
Yeah,
those are probably my pick.
okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So that's going to be pretty. The Venom, is that what you guys were saying earlier, tying it into the movie because the movie's coming out and they want to maximize their profits probably, so they're throwing their studs at it.
Yep, and that's the reason you see because Donny Cates right now is I would say, as far as new writers, he is probably the biggest writer in comics right now. And it's funny, they throw him on Thanos, which is ties up perfectly for the Infinity War movie coming out, and then now they're throwing him on Venom.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny how they do that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Thanos run so far. I've enjoyed the whole thing. I know there was a change of art there that kind of freaked me out for a little bit. I don't like when they do that. Especially if the art attracted me in the first place, but can't complain. The story's pretty good.
Yeah, DC right now is pretty bad for that too because they're double shipping most of their books. So, the artists just can't keep up with 2 books a month, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Nate, your turn.
I got a laundry list for you.
Really? I'm running out of room here in this paper.
So Marvel site, I'm gonna agree. Donny Cates, definitely. Charles Sewell, Greg Pak, he's the one doing Weapon X and Weapon X. He's been doing those ones. Mark Guggenheim is doing X-Men Blue.
Yeah.
And then kind of a newcomer. What was it? I just saw it. I think it's Brian Bunn or Hector Bunn. He's doing Venom and X-Men Blue. He's been doing that for a little bit. It's definitely a different story, I'll say that. But like I said, the number one, of course, would be Donny Cates. Just the stories he's been doing with Doctor Strange and Damnation and Ghost Rider and all that. Now he's taking over Venom. That's going to be huge for that. DC wise, though, I'm going to probably go over to Greg Capullo. He's been doing the medals this year. Him and Scott Snyder and those guys, because that's been an awesome series to read.
Everything that those guys do is gold.
It pretty much. If you remember the Batman run from New 52, it was amazing. I loved that run. When the new guys came in, King and them, I wasn't a big fan of King's run. I really wasn't when it first started off. It kind of had to grow on to me because I got so used to the New 52 style of Capullo and Snyder. So that took me a little bit of time with them. But the other one I was looking for.
Somebody, Nightwalker's asking, that's Curtis Martinez. He's asking if anybody reads Namor. Is that even a book right now that's going?
I don't think Namor is in a book.
Yeah.
No. No, I take that back. Namor is an X-Men Red. He's part of X-Men Red now. But the other ones that were always good, I always like reading too, were Rick Remender, of course, Charles Soule. He's doing Astonishing X-Men and those guys, definitely go with them. But DC's been kind of lacking for a while on theirs until the Terrifics really came out. Like the Doomsday Clock's it's been okay. It's a slow read. You may just gotta be kind of in for that kind of
It's
read when
good
you're reading the Doomsday
storytelling,
Clock.
though. It's just good storytelling, though. They develop it really well.
It is. It really has that Watchmen feel. Like what Alan Moore would write. That's what's kind of nice about it. But
What about Damage?
I wasn't a big fan of Damage. I read the first issue. I wasn't a big fan. So people forget that Ivan Rice and Lee Meyer actually do the Terrifics.
How did I forget Lee Meyer?
Yeah.
So, I had to do a double check, because I was like, because it's how Lee Meyer writes, and it's just like this. I had to like do a double check. That's why I was looking at my comics thing. I'm like, yeah, it is a Lee Meyer book. He does some amazing storytelling. So definitely pick up his stuff. And that's pretty much it right now. I mean, there's really no big breakout artists or breakout writers other than those that really catch my attention. I mean, when Jim Lee puts something out, it's few and far in between. He's pretty much just doing variant covers now. But Chris Claremont's coming back to X-Men. So we're about to see a big change in X-Men again. So for you, Brock, that's probably a good thing because you're going to see a resurgence of that kind of storyline. And if you actually look at the X-Men line, anytime Claremont comes back, the prices go up in value.
So Claremont, when's he supposed to come back?
I think they're going to do it after Infinity Countdown gets done.
Okay.
But yeah, I saw that one. But Jonathan Hickman is always a good one to read. Anytime he writes a book, I mean, it's been a little bit.
He did the big crossover a couple of years ago, didn't he? The Secret Wars. I think that was him that did it.
He did. But the problem was that was his exit from Marvel at that point. Once he did that, he left Marvel. Said, "I'm not coming back for years," because he did not want to kill off the Fantastic Four, and they kind of got made into doing that. But yeah, Hickman's always good. Jason Aaron's always good. But that's pretty much it, I think.
That's a lot. That's a good list. I haven't read any of the Mighty Thor. So you guys mentioned Jason Aaron a couple times, so I may have to go back and I may just have to take a trip on a Saturday to Barnes and Noble. Or if this Hoopla thing works out, I was trying to sign into my library and it was not letting me.
Yeah, I mean, I always loved Jason Aaron's run. I actually went back and got the run from Jason Aaron in trade paperback for Wolverine, just to read through his stuff. And what I think BJ brought it up though was Mark Millar. Millar does some great writing and storytelling. And then there was Steve McNiven. Steve McNiven was in charge of working on Old Man Logan, and he helped out with the Origin series, which was the original Wolverine origin story.
Okay.
He also did the original Civil War run as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Nate, whenever we end up hanging out one of these weekends, maybe you can let me borrow some trade paperbacks if I promise to take really good care of them and bring them back to you.
I'll let you borrow an omnibus.
What is that?
Well, it's about this big.
Basically a phone book.
Phone book. At least that way you can have a full story to read. You have everything in one book.
Awesome. But are those comfortable to read though? Because I'm a little bit particular. You guys are probably particular too. What you prefer reading out of? It looks like you guys are picking up you're picking up the hard copies of things, and I prefer just getting the digital stuff. Just easier to read them on my iPad, or going to Barnes and Noble and reading them the trade paperback.
I'm always a physical copy guy. I've always have been because I've been collecting comics for so long. So I'm always going to be more towards that. I know Kyle does the trade paperback route. I do too for certain things. But I always love individual issues, just be able to flip it. It's just that nostalgic feel for me, to be able to flip the pages.
Yeah, I get that.
All right, guys. Well, it is 10 till 10 our time here, Brock, which means it's dirt late, 1 o'clock their time in Ohio and South Carolina. So I blame you, Brock, for taking us an extra hour because you're the new guy.
Well, I promise I won't be back next week.
Nah, dude. No, dude. Thank you for coming in, Brock, dude, and thank you for helping out with the page.
Yeah, hey, thanks for. I'm happy to allow people in. I look at them. Sure, come on in, guys. Stir up some trouble.
Check their profile to make sure it's a real profile first. Right. Okay, that's the only thing I asked.
Yeah, I did a little bit of I played Batman on a couple of those, so
yeah,
they look like good peeps.
And as you can tell, typically on our page, we don't have the same issues that there are in other pages. It's comic related. And we keep it really comic related, so we try to make that the same out there for everybody else. But yeah, this has been Kyle, Life with Brock, and BJ Bonstell. Thank you, everybody that came in. We definitely appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It's definitely been a fun time. And we told you, Brock, you'd be the comedic relief for tonight. Because comics can get dry sometimes. It does. We all can say it. We all have our enthusiasm, but it can get dry at times. So we try to keep it lively as well. But it does help out as well. But yeah. So closing comments. Go around the table, Kyle.
Just thank you, Brock, for helping us out here on the page. It is a pleasure having you in here. Anytime you're available on a Thursday night, definitely join us.
Good deal. Thank you.
Nate, BJ, as always, awesome talking to you guys. And everybody watching, thanks for coming. That was pretty much it this evening.
All right, Brock, you're up.
Fue un increíble placer estar con ustedes. Me gustó mucho esta conversación y nos vemos otro día.
Yeah.
Okay, repeat that in English for all the people that don't speak Spanish. I understood what you said, but not a lot of people might not have.
It was a pleasure hanging out. Thanks for inviting me, and hey, thanks for teaching me some nerd stuff. And next time, Nate, don't forget, okay? You gotta do a little bit of Undertaker right before you give us the information.
I'll try. We'll see. All right, BJ.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Oh, spreche Sie Deutsch, ja. Spreche Sie Deutsch, ja. Auslander.
Yeah, it was cool, man. I had fun. But I'm really tired now, so I'm going to bed.
Brian fell asleep several times when I was talking. I saw him. I was talking, and I could see him in the picture going,
what? No, I was actually my dog was running around here, so I was messing, petting her because she's a nudger. So she's like, "Come on, pet me." So.
All right, so we'll end this for the night. Thank you guys, everybody. Thanks everybody came by. I appreciate it. This has been your Reddick from Cali Nate with Kyle, Life with Brock, and BJ Bonsell. Thank you guys. Take it easy and have a good night, and we'll talk to you guys next week. All right.